So scaling a Facebook ads campaign isn't always the easiest process to undertake. There's a lot of variables at play, like your campaign's ROAS, how's your click-through rate looking for all of your ads, and what the time frame you're looking at to scale this campaign. But once you know what to do in order to scale those campaigns, it still does take some time out of your day in order to watch the ads manager, making sure that things are not breaking, and you just end up spending a whole lot more time on Facebook. So I think the question really is, how can you speed up this process and let Facebook handle the scaling for you and automate this whole thing? So in today's video, I'll be showing you really quickly what to look at before deciding to scale your ads campaign. And then once you do look at these things, how can you automate this process of scaling your ads campaign? So if you're a Shopify store owner or simply a business owner trying to scale your current Facebook ads campaign, then stay tuned. If you're new to the channel, my name is Justin and I'm the founder of Wizo Media, an e-commerce marketing agency specializing in growth strategies for e-commerce businesses. So before we actually get started, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be the first to know about these cutting edge marketing tips that I'll be sharing with you every week on the channel. So first things first, let's take a look and dive a little deeper into what you need to test and make sure that it's working before you take the decision of scaling your ads campaign. But if you already know how to scale your ads campaign and that you're already familiar essentially with your current results and that you're confident you are more than ready to attack the scaling process, then I recommend you to skip through this video to the part where I show you how to create automated rules within Facebook that allow you to put this whole thing on semi-autopilot. So the main two things you want to make sure that are solid, understood, tested, and proven before you take the decision to scale your ads campaign are your creatives and your audiences. Testing your creatives is a fairly simple and easy process to undertake, and there's pretty much two ways that we go about doing that here at Wizo Media. So let me show you. So first thing you can do here is run a testing campaign designed to test the market with your new creatives, and to do so you really want to set a broad target audience and test about 3 different audiences and angles, again keeping everything super broad. So in this step, all you really wanted to achieve is knowing what creatives work best. So this is why you pick really broad targeting, as you want to show your creatives to as many people as possible in order to see what simply picks up within the market. So as you've got your campaign at here, at this level, so let me just quickly type that out. Essentially what you want to do is divide that into pretty much 3 main sections. So those will be your ad sets, and each ad set has its own purpose. So it's 3 broad audiences. So as an example, if you're doing skincare, then this could be mothers, this could be the daughters, and then you could have from the dad's perspective. So this is pretty much your you're basically playing with your audience as well as your angle. So obviously you have to show a bit of a different angle to that audience, which we'll get to in a second with your copy, but basically big picture is that you've got 3 audiences over here. So now you've got your 3 audiences, you know who you're going to target, you know what the angle you're going to take. So that is pretty simple, as what you'll want to do for all of these guys is have your assets. So with this, I recommend for each of them about 4 to 5 assets to test. This is really where the testing will happen. So having 4 to 5 different creatives that you want to test for these guys, I recommend keeping it pretty simple based on what you currently have on hand. So if you have pictures, then I would say use only pictures. If you've got videos, then only use videos. If you got a mix of both, then try a little bit of both, but you want to keep that pretty simple essentially based on what you got. So no need to go over and above in this step, because all you want to do is test. So you'll see maybe after these tests, none of your creatives are currently working, which is where you'll have to be a little bit more creative and actually put some more effort into it. But it could also just simply be that all of them are perfectly working and finding that the market loves them. So this is where we know, what happens next. So now you've got your 4 to 5 creatives for all of these guys, and then the last thing you want to do is have your copies. So for that, I recommend about 1 to 3 different copy variations for all of them. So here I'm just only putting that for mother, but as you probably understand so far, you're doing the same thing over for all of your audiences that you're currently testing. I'm saying audiences, but here again, we're keeping it super broad. So it's not really about the audiences, it really is about your creatives. And once you would have done this step, essentially this will give you the results that you want. All you want to do is, as mentioned at first, broadcast your message to as many people as possible and see what hits. What is the response that you get from the market? What do people tend to like? And essentially, what is the traction that you see sort of grabbing with some of your different creatives? Now, this is where things get a little trickier, especially at the time of recording this video in July 2021. So what I would have normally recommended you to do is use dynamic creative testing, which is simply having all of these different assets under the same ad, and you turn on the dynamic creative testing feature on Facebook, and all that would have done, and that still does, because that's still a current feature, is that it just shows the best creative, or Facebook at least shows the best creative, I think, that would resonate with the people that you're trying to target. So Facebook picks essentially what creative they would show to what people, and this essentially helps test the creative dynamically. And then what you do right after that is go onto Facebook, onto your ads manager, which I'm about to show you right now. So what you would want to do, if you do decide to use this dynamic creative testing feature on Facebook, is to head over to your ads manager, go to the ads level, go to breakdown, and then you're going to see time, delivery, action, and by dynamic creative element, which is where we are interested into looking. So if you want to test your creatives dynamically, then obviously you'd want to go to image, video, and slideshow, as this would show you the breakdown per different images used within the same ad. Although now the little tricky part is that it's not always running and working with Facebook. So for some of our clients, it's working perfectly fine. On some days, actually, for these same clients, it's not. So it depends, per different period. We've seen a little bit of a lack of consistency from Facebook's part with that since iOS 14.5. So it really depends, again, per client account. But if it does end up working, as you can see right here, what you would normally see. So again, this ad right there has 2 videos as well as essentially a bit of a picture right there. So with that being said, as you can see, this is basically the results for all 3 variations right there. So you can see, what happened based on these 3 pictures. And from there, this is where you would take the decision based on what creatives seems to be working best. So again, this is one ad that if you go at the ad level and go to edit, you would be able to see, actually this is a carousel right here. So it's a little different, but what you would normally want to click is the button that was just here. So dynamic formats and creative, you would normally want to turn that on and then add your creatives below, which again, Facebook would switch between those creatives based on to who it would be showing these. So without going into too much detail, this is basically a big picture on how to test your creatives. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see a bit more in-depth video about how to test your creatives and how to perform audience testing. And then, if I get some good reactions, I'd be able to make one of these videos in the upcoming weeks to show you really more in depth how to make these work for you and the different strategies for testing the market on the creative and audience side of things. So now that you've figured out your best, or I'd say 2 best performing creatives, it's time to use them to perform some audience testing. So as mentioned earlier, the goal of this video is not to go into too many details about how to perform such testing, but to give you just a really quick idea of how you would do that. It's pretty much the same structure as I had showed you earlier. So if you want to skip back through the video and see how this looks like, but now you would pick some actual audiences that you think would work well with your brand. So this could be a lookalike, you could have some broad audiences, some interest-based audiences. So test a couple of variations of these. Normally, 3 to 4 audiences to test at the beginning is good, and then below that, instead of testing 4 to 5 creatives as you've just done, now and you've narrowed down your search, and that only 1 or 2 of your creatives are best performers. So use these guys within your ad sets to test these new audiences, and this would tell you essentially what audiences work best. And then you may ask yourself, why is that? Well, we know for a fact that these creatives work. We know for a fact that they do resonate with the market, they do resonate with people in general, so they should also grab the attention of your ideal audience. So now you've got your audience, you've got your creatives, you know what works, you've tested them, they're both working well, you've launched a campaign for the past couple of days with your audiences and your new and working and tested creatives. Results are good. What can you do now to scale them? So you're maybe potentially already spending $100 a day. Now you want to bring that to $200 a day, but what I recommend is not to do this steep jump and just simply go into your campaigns. If you're doing CBO, go into your campaign level and just up that to $200 a day, or to go to the ad set level and simply bump them all up by a couple dollars. So really, you want to take your time and know how to do this the right way. So what you do is almost like dollar cost averaging. This is pretty much like investing in the stock market, right? So if you have, let's say, $10,000 to invest in the stock market, no one would recommend you to put, this whole thing right now into stocks and simply buy. Let's say you're gonna get into the S&P 500, just throw in $10,000 right now without having any prior experience, or without, knowing for a fact results will go up, which is never going to happen, as we just don't know. Same thing for Facebook ads. It could have been working super well so far, but it could go all downhill from there. So what you want to do is increase the budget, by a certain amount daily or every couple of days until you hit your target amount. So if we're at 100 and we want to get to $200 by an example, we can increase the budget by 30% every time the ROAS of our campaign is above the KPI that we want to hit. So now let me show you how to create a rule inside the Facebook Ads Manager that allows you to simply input your parameters and let Facebook scale your budget based on the results that it does see. So I'm on the ads manager right now. I'm at the ads level. Doesn't matter what level you're at, you're gonna see this option at here at the top, which is called rules. So you would want to click on that and click create a new rule. What I'm gonna do right now is go to manage rules, as I already have a rule up and running, and I want to show you guys what the layout is for that one. So as you can see right now, I've got a currently active rule. I could turn that off right now, but I won't, as we are currently looking to increase the budget for this client. So let me go ahead and click on edit and see how this rule looks like. So we simply called it what it is. Right now we're trying to increase the budget by 30% every time we hit a certain level. So we apply the rule to all active campaigns. We could have picked a certain campaign, but we do have a couple campaigns we want to be affected by this, which we're still gonna narrow down a little later, as you're gonna see. So the action that we want to do in this case is increase the daily budget by. So in here, Facebook gives you a bunch of options. We could turn off campaigns, turn them on, set a notification, decrease the budget, whatever that is, essentially, as we hit a certain level. So in this case, we picked increasing the daily budget by, and then we go by 30%. So as Facebook tells you over here, your rule will only apply to campaigns that are active at the time the rule runs, and campaigns with daily budgets can only be managed by this rule. So essentially tells you that campaigns that have a CBO and campaigns that are currently active will be able to be affected by this rule. So right now the maximum daily budget cap is $200, because right now we are at that $100 daily and we want to go up to that $200, but we don't want Facebook again to keep increasing by 30% just forever. We want to make sure that we stay at $200 for a couple of days to make sure that everything works well. So action frequency, we let that at default, which is in our case daily, as we've per schedule we set that daily at 12 a.m. essentially, just Facebook's check if it's worth it to increase the budget or not. And then this is where it's important. This is the conditions that you want to put to make sure that Facebook respects those parameters before increasing the budget. So in this case, we only put two conditions. Website purchase ROAS has to be above 3, and the campaign name has to contain the word cold. But if you want, you can click on the plus sign over there and then add some other variable. As you can see, there's so many that you can choose from. So cost per results, what your spend has been, frequency, results, and just so on and so on. There's many things that you can go about for that, but for us personally, and that should look similar for yourself, that's what we've put. So what we want to do here is that every time our cold campaigns are above a 3 ROAS for the day, essentially, then Facebook will increase the budget by 30%. And here I just mentioned something actually super important. I said for the day, where in fact we're looking for the past 3 days. So you can choose your time range. You can choose that for today, for the last 2 days, for the last 28 days. So Facebook essentially checks for a certain period of time, once this rule applies. So for us, in our case, it would have to be 3 continuous days at above 3 ROAS for Facebook to take the decision to essentially automatically increase the budget by 30%. So, I recommend this as a good baseline. Again, we're using 3 as we've seen that being an incredible number for these guys. So not everyone can achieve a 3 on cold, but whatever is a good number for yourself, set that as a target to begin with, and then let Facebook optimize that, I'd say, from 1 day to 3 days, is the right number to put. Then, we're simply sending ourselves a notification by email once Facebook takes the action to increase the budget. That way we know, when this is done, and then we can head over to Facebook and make sure that everything is looking right. But from there, you may change that later on. So let me explain myself. If you've picked 30% and picked 3 days, and now it's been, pretty much a week or a little over a week, and there was no increase with your budget, you may have picked the wrong target. So you want to realign yourself and also be realistic. So if you've picked 3 in this case, and your campaigns have always been at about 1.8, then there's no way you're gonna get to that 3, and your budget may not ever increase. So again, you really want to be conscious about your results and where is a good number and what are your target KPIs. And once this is done, you simply hit save. I won't in this case because I just did a couple of modifications. I'm going to cancel that, and you want to ensure that this rule is turned on, and that's pretty much it. So once Facebook will see that you hit above your target KPIs, then it will automatically adapt the budget. So now that you know what to look for and what to test before deciding to scale your campaigns and how to set up an automated rule within Facebook, I still recommend you to keep a close eye on the ads manager just for the couple first days after you launch your rule. As I just mentioned, you can never really be 100% certain that your campaigns will scale properly, in the sense that things won't break at a scale. So that's why I recommend to take a close look at your ads manager, because you can still increase the budget and Facebook may keep increasing that automatically, but things may not look right. So that's why you want to keep a close eye on that just at the beginning. But in the long run, this can help you save tons of time and simply give you some peace of mind that Facebook won't scale if you're above, or if you're below, I should say, some sort of numbers, but it'll only do so when you're profitable. Now, if you're unsure about the best strategies and how to really make sure that you scale your ads while still being profitable, I invite you to go down in the description, click on the first link below, which will bring you to a scheduling page for you to book in your really quick 15 demo call with myself here at Wizo Media, and then we're going to be able to see if you're a good fit for our e-commerce marketing program. On that note, make sure you check out other videos on the channel where I give you some bunch of tips about other things you can do, optimize and scale, with your Facebook ads for your e-commerce business. And again, make sure to leave a comment down below if you'd like to see a video into further details about how to really test your audiences and test your creative. So I'll see you guys next week. Peace.